Welcome to the We Hack Purple podcast, where each week I meet with a different member of the information security industry to ask them what it's like to do their job. We have all sorts of people from CEOs to SOC analysts to security research to bug bounty hunters. And this week I have Tyrone E. Wilson, and he is the CEO of a cybersecurity company, and I'm super excited to talk with him. I always forget to introduce myself. I am Tanya Jenko, your host from We Hack Purple, and this week's podcast is sponsored by ThreadFix by Denim Group. Thank you so much to them. But without further ado, what everyone is waiting for, I know what you want. You just want to see Tyrone. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Tanya. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit about yourself. So what is your job title? Where do you work, if you're allowed sharing that? And describe your job.
Yeah, sure thing. Not a problem at all. I am Tyrone E. Wilson of Cover Six Solutions. I am the founder and president of Cover Six Solutions, and it feels like I have two jobs because I'm also the organizer of the DC Cyber Security Professionals Meetup Group here out in DC. We're at over 8,000 members now.
Oh my God.
That happened, yeah, during National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Last month we reached 8,000, so I'm really happy about that. But Cover Six is an information security services and training company. So, in addition to the training from the Pentester Prep, SOC Analyst Prep, and we recently just combined them to create an attack and defend workshop, which starts this Tuesday, actually. So,
Wow.
a lot of the training, a lot of consulting, pen tests, vulnerability assessments, and it keeps me busy.
Would your
You know?
website happen to be cover6solutions.com?
Yes, cover six, the number six, cover6solutions.com. Yes.
I'm totally going to flash it. I'm going to flash it on the bottom of the screen because I can. 8,000 people, that's
Yeah.
absolutely incredible. That's totally
Yes,
amazing.
yes.
And I just
It-
want to
it's
tell the people
mhm.
watching, if you have a question for Tyrone, you can put it in the chat and I'll find a good time to share it.
Yeah, sure thing. I love questions. Please, please, please ask questions. Bring it.
Awesome. So, I get to ask the most questions because I'm the host, which is the best. I was just like,
Yeah.
how can I meet lots of cool people? I'm going to start a
Uh,
podcast. It works. Okay, so what is a day in the life like for you at your job running your company?
Whew. Wow. So you know, if you own the company, if you don't work, you don't eat.
Yep.
Right? So, although you do have a lot of flexibility, you can do what you want, you can literally go and fall asleep if you want, but there's a lot of, process building that we do on the back end. As you know, documentation for classes. I feel like I have this little, I guess you can call it a rotation of emotional feelings that I have before every class. And it's like, I'm so excited for class, so excited for class. Then day one will happen, and I'm really happy that we had a really great day one. Day two will come, and I'll say, I never want to teach again. Right? Like, I never want to teach again. And then, you start to see the light bulbs come on in everyone's head, and all the students start to get it. You're like, this is why I love teaching. And now you're like, man, I can't wait to make the next class a lot better. Right. And it's just that cycle over and over and over again. So, we do have to do a lot of marketing, of course. Anything that you can automate, like scheduling your tweets, being active with your followers, responding to your followers. Like, it feels like it never ends because you want to be responsive to your customers. And, we have a chat function online, and, people want to chat when it's 10:30, 11 at night. but you don't want to wait till the morning, so you just keep going over and over and over again. And it gets to a point to where people will ask, like, how do you do it? How do you like not fall out? And my mindset is like I look at it as, like a 401k where I'm not trying to have it all right now, but just have a nice little bundle at the end. And as long as I keep building towards this 401k, just like a career, as long as I keep building, then in the end, everything will be all good.
Okay, so that's brilliant. You said so many good things there. So people forget if you run your own business, you're doing so much more than just. So you see Tyrone teaching and you're like, yeah, he teaches. He does so much more than that. Do you create your curriculum too?
We've created everything from scratch. And the thing is, like, they all started from like me having notes because I wanted to, pass a certification. So I just turned my notes into a class, and then we just kept building over and over and over again. And then what I did, because we have the meetup group, I would take snippets of the class, use them for the meetup group. And because the meetup group's been there since 2012, I just have years and years and years of years of
Oh
me
my
just
God.
trying to fine tune the content. And as a content creator, like the smallest things will get to me. If I see a typo, it's like, oh man, I'm a failure because there's this typo here on this slide.
Oh my gosh. I am the same way exactly. And like,
Uh-huh,
I have a person that edits my videos now, and he can perform
uh-huh.
magic. He can do all these things, but like I'll see one error, and like it doesn't matter if he did like 20,000 perfect things. I'm like,
Get on that.
right? Oh my gosh. So a thing that you and I were talking about right before we went live was that this had
Yes.
arrived. My book, Alice and Bob Learn
Mhm.
Application Security.
Yeah.
And you had some.
Congratulations on that.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I can't believe it. I'm
Yes.
literally like, I keep opening it. I'm like, is this real?
Uh-huh.
But you had really good questions about how hard is that? Because, so first of all, if you're in the chat, do you think that Tyrone should write a book? Because I think he should. And so maybe I could get some thumbs up and some likes or some comments in the chat because he has done so many cool things. And I don't know, I'd read a book by Tyrone.
So that imposter syndrome, like I feel like it was just my life. I feel like it's just something that I was trying here, trying there, and just making sure that I did well in everything that I attempted. But, when you look at everything, and I go back with the last 20, 24 years, really, because I joined the military and can I joined the military in
What? Why?
1990.
You say it like it's no. That was a part of your life, and you did it, and I'm
Okay,
sure you
no,
made it better.
no, I'm saying because I was gonna tell my age, but I joined
Oh,
the military in 1996. So 24 years of just being into communications and IT, two deployments, and I actually had a conversation with a really good friend of mine a couple of days ago. We were thinking about all of the things that I was able to do, and if there's anyone in the industry that would be comparable. And I try to look at the deployments, the military service, the community service. I try to consistently like increase my technical ability. And I think about my journey, my life, my upbringing, where I am now. I put it in a book. I put it
yes.
in a book and
And what
just
you
name
what
it.
you didn't see is like I've been putting across the screen people saying yes, yes, you should write a book. Yes, I
Hmm.
would read it. I would buy it. And someone put and a podcast.
You
So
you know what? I thought about that. I thought about that, and between like the meetup already feels like a job, but like you said, it's a way to meet some cool people. So I think I may do it. I have a couple of ideas podcast. I do.
I
I
think you
do.
have, I think
Want to hear
you're,
it?
I love that you are humble, but I feel that
Uh,
there is a potential that you are slightly, just slightly, understating. Understating some of, I bet you have a lot to share. And also, oh my gosh, if that's your age, you look
uh,
absolutely incredible. Can I do whatever you're
oh,
doing so that I look like
thank
you when I'm older? Like, you look great.
you. Granny, my grandmother, she passed those genes down. I say that.
Amazing.
Um, Me and my brother, we used to have this thing, and I hope no one takes the idea. If you take the idea, it's fine. But it's called Otopika, right?
Okay.
Basically, my brother played in the NFL. And we were talking about people that have talent, right? And he would always say things like, "There's scouts out there. There's constantly people out
Yeah.
there looking for talent, and it doesn't
Hmm.
matter where you come from. If you have talent, it's going to show." He was like,
Hmm.
even if you went to Otopika State University, if you have talent, then you get to play in the big leagues, right? If you work hard, you can do it. And, that was our little nod to each other. And I was going to start a podcast called Otopeka State. And this just have people that were like unsung unknowns from earlier in their career, and they start to sprout into um, big names. Then that's what we were going to do. But it started from like, from an athletic sports standpoint. But I think I can transition that to infosec.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Also, I love the idea of, I feel like representation really matters. And when you see a person and they're like, oh, I didn't have any experience in this, but like, look at all these things that I've done, it helps me feel that I can go and do those things. Do you know what I mean? And so,
Hmm.
someone at
Yeah,
Otopeka State, like not a really well known school for awesome football players, I'm assuming, I don't know anything about sports. Like, I
no, it
play
doesn't exist.
sports. Oh, it doesn't exist. Oh,
It doesn't
okay.
even exist.
Well, then
So
definitely
it's
it's not known for that.
right.
But it's true.
But
Like, hearing those stories really encourages and inspires people.
right, and you mentioned representation, and representation is big for me. Like I want people to see that you can be successful, you can do it. You know, there's nothing stopping anyone, and I'm here to help you get there. So me coming up, there wasn't a lot of people that looked like me. So I want people that do look like me to see that it's there and they belong, and no one should make you feel uncomfortable about being there. You know.
100% could not agree more strongly with you. So let's talk about how we could get people there. So
Okay.
you run a company, you did all these things before you got there, but I'm wondering if there's certain personality traits that you feel help people get into like a leadership role or make them like feel brave enough to take that jump to start their own company. Like,
Oh man.
yeah.
I feel like if you're on the fence about starting a company, just do it. Right? Just do it. My journey into entrepreneurship wasn't the smartest, admittedly, but I'm stubborn. And I feel like the reasons why I started were true. And I always felt like eventually, if I do right by the people, set a great foundation, and continue to make a good name for myself, eventually everything is going to pay off. And I'll end up learning on the way. And I can assure you that the journey, although it wasn't fun all the time, has been amazing. And I wouldn't change anything. Um, I essentially just put in my 2 weeks notice and just did it because of like my job situation. I worked in the IC. I was cleared. I was military. Had a really great background. So you know, and me still trying to stay humble, like a six-figure job. was automatic, right? But I felt like if I had the ability to easily get this job, then I wouldn't take entrepreneurship seriously because I knew I had an easy fallback plan. So I tried it once, um, ended up going back to work. Tried it again, ended up going back to work. And then, you know, honestly, I feel like I failed up because
Oh,
I was actually I was actually promoted to a position that I was really, really happy about, but I honestly think I wasn't ready for it. But
mhm.
I learned so much by not being ready. And I honestly, I failed at it, but I learned what I needed to do to be better. So one day, I just put in my 2 weeks and said, if I'm gonna do it, this is this is it's just gonna be done. Like there's no turning back now. And it's been terrifyingly motivating ever since. And I'm stubborn. And my family, they would say, Ty, get a job. Just get a job. Get a job. But I knew what it would mean if I did. And, as an entrepreneur, it really like lets you know who you are. Like you will figure out who you are if you try to start a business. Are you a people person? Do you have business acumen? Um, your pride, everything, all of that stuff comes into play. Networking, relationships, and you learn so much about yourself to a point where, like, I want everyone to try to be an entrepreneur
Me too.
just so they can learn about themselves. Just so they can learn about themselves.
I want to use that quote, terrifyingly motivating. I put it across the
Oh,
screen. That's so perfect, Ty. It's so
yeah.
perfect. Like, it's
Uh,
so true where it's like, I have to. I can't not succeed. There's not an option there.
right.
uh, I don't come from money. I actually had a not so super rich type of upbringing, and so there's no cushiony padding type of thing waiting if I don't do
Right.
well. And so
Right.
terrifyingly motivating. That's what entrepreneurship is. I love it. I've never heard a better way to say it.
And there's other little things that I do to keep myself motivated. I'll save the best for last, right? Um, so, believe it or not, the hardest part for me about starting the company was thinking of a name. And I know
Really?
it may sound simple, but I wanted something that I would be willing to work 18 to 19 hours a day for. So I picked something that was, a tribute to my military service, being cover six, and I am an IPv6 enthusiast. So I figured eventually people will start listening to me about IPv6 after 25 years, and and you know people will pay attention to it. But the other thing is that the company initials is actually a play on words.
Okay.
So cover six solutions C6S, and if you say it fast enough, it sounds like seek success.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yes. So another thing that I did, I don't know if you could see my tattoo, is that
Hmm.
I send a little hello nod to my daughter. I'm not gonna get emotional, but I send a node. I mean, look, I can't even speak now because I'm thinking about her. I send a nod to my daughter whenever I can. So her name is in my company logo, and then on the edges of my training slides, the binary, her name in binary is there too, and on the
Oh,
certificates and on everything, it's there. So um,
I love it. That's so sweet. And also, it makes
yeah.
it so much more beautiful. That's so awesome. Oh my gosh. So, I have more questions for you about how
Mhm.
someone can try to succeed like you, because that's what this podcast is about, right? I want people to know they can reach for the stars. And so, my next question is, what types of technical skills do you feel like a person will need to try to get into a role that you're in? Like,
Okay.
do you think they need technical skills necessarily to be like a trainer
I
and
mean,
run?
of course, you would need to have some type of technical ability, but I feel like probably the most important thing is the ability to self-study. Being able to go from nothing to something on your own, and if you can't do it, being able to have a mentor or someone that you can reach out to so you don't waste those hours of time. But then you have to evaluate like how that process makes you feel. If you're a person that doesn't embrace learning and doesn't enjoy doing the research, asking questions, learning how to identify what it is, what it does, and why it's important, just those three things, and then figuring out how to break it, how to make it work, how to use it for malicious purposes. And for me, my I'm an Aquarius, so I kind of think outside the box, and always been really inquisitive about everything, really, people, uh, processes, functionality, and I like to. I enjoy helping people grow, even if it's, uh, for an instant. I feel like if I can help you learn something about you, even if it's not technical, could be life, um, your emotions, that's my win, right? My win,
Yeah,
like your success is my reward.
I love that. I love that. I We were talking before we started broadcasting. Basically, both of us do lots of community stuff. When you help a person succeed, how does it make you feel?
It's everything to me. Like I can't even explain it because, you like a pen testing project. I approach the project, black box. I don't know anything. Just write a name on a piece of paper, and then you make things happen like a week later. So I take the same approach with the person, and every person is different to figure out what their end goals are. And sometimes it takes encouragement. Sometimes it takes figuring out what their mental state is and how to, I guess, lead that person into success, but still having them believe in themselves. So when they leave my presence, they have enough of self confidence to keep pushing forward.
Yes. So much yes. So much yes. And don't you find that like I saw this study and it was about the American military and they said so I've heard lots of people say, "Oh, the mentors that always have really really good students, it's cuz they pick really good students." And so they did this kind of like study on the American military, and what they did is they studied what the really good mentors did and then replicated it for just any person in the military.
Yeah.
And it turns out just encouraging them, believing in them, helping them like giving them all the opportunities and
Mhm.
introducing them, like doing everything that you can to enable that person. That's the magic.
Yeah. There's some psychology in there. So you're breaking them down because everyone has an idea of who they are. And sometimes you have to tell them who they really
Yeah, you're more
are.
than that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you always have to leave them believing that they are better now than they were yesterday or 2 days
Mm.
ago or last week. And I feel like I would fail at that. In the military, one of the first things I ever had to learn, and I still remember it word for word, is leadership. And that was the first question they asked me when I was going to try to get promoted. And they said, "What is leadership?" And I had no idea, but
Wow.
it's the process of influencing others to accomplish mission by providing purpose, direction, and motivation.
Wait a
It's
minute.
one of the things that I've never
Wait.
forgotten.
Sorry, your internet cut out for just a second. Could you just repeat? You
Oh,
said
did?
they asked what leadership was, and I had no idea. And then you said clearly lots of super smart things, and we missed it. Could you say it again? I'm sorry.
Oh, I said leadership is the process of influencing others to accomplish the mission by providing purpose, direction, and motivation.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to quote you. Watch out, Ty. That's
Leadership.
awesome. No, that's so good. You're really. Okay, so you're motivating me, mister. Seriously.
Oh,
Okay, I have more questions for you though, because
sure. Let's go. I have all night. I have all night.
so what
As
types
long
of.
as the people. Go ahead.
Oh, no, no, you can finish your
No,
sentence.
I was saying if the people want more, give them more.
Yeah.
I
So
might have to refill my monkey shoulder though.
I know, right? We are having beverages, just as an FYI to
Oh, I'm
people
sorry.
listening. We're that's okay. We're having really small beverages. My friends at Cloud Defense sent me a gift, and they sent me a mini bottle of wine, but they sent two because they're
Oh,
very smart.
that Chardonnay? Yeah.
It's
Okay.
Chardonnay, and I don't actually drink that often, so they sent two little
Oh,
bottles, so it won't go bad because I never finish. Like so, I'm like, oh, that's so sweet.
it's a perfect let's go to.
Right? Okay, so let's say someone is like, okay, so one day I want to try to start my own company. I want to try to do what Tyrone what Tyrone's doing. What type of work experience or training would you suggest? Because you took a long time to get there, you said, and I don't mean like that you took too long. You took how much time was right for you. But let's say someone's like 25 or they're 28 and they've graduated from wherever they're going to learn and they're like, I'm totally obsessed with cyber. I want to try to start my own company. Do you have suggestions for like maybe training they could take or maybe work experience that would be specifically super helpful in them like learning or maybe books that you think might be good?
Sure thing. I think the very first thing is a self-assessment. And I actually wrote an article called Identifying Your Dream Job. And there's three things that can help you identify your dream job. And it's okay if cybersecurity isn't your dream job. So it should be a combination of what you're good at, what you love to do, and what the world needs. If you're good at it, it will come easy to you and you'll be able to do it, all day. If you love it, then your passion for it is going to shine through your work and people are going to gravitate towards that. And if the world needs it, then there'll be a lot of demand for it and you'll be in business for a long time. And I feel like I've identified my dream job, and that's helping people become successful through education and cybersecurity. And if they want to start a company, then, I mentioned being stubborn, and I
Yeah,
have a funny story. And I know my friend Kamali would love to hear this.
nice.
And I told him, I was like, hey, I started a company. And he's like, what's going to be your focus? And I was like, focus? We're going to do everything. The
Mm-hmm.
company is called Cover Six Solutions, plural. We have the solutions to cover everything. And he's just, I can hear him like, this guy. So I think you should definitely narrow down your scope. The way that I did it was I identified things that I was good at. So if anything failed, I would be able to just jump in and do the work. Also, it all started from relationships that I was able to create during my time, at my various, you know, professional positions. And, those relationships, they pay off in the end. They're important to
Yes.
have. So create those relationships. Another thing that I didn't do was create a business plan.
Mhm.
I just did it, and I winged it along the way, but I definitely don't want anyone to waste any of their time. So just do some research, figure out what should be in a business plan, and I feel like that will help you mentally, as you start to move forward in your business. A lot of it is going to be based off of who you are in your name, especially at the beginning.
Mhm.
And me myself, I've always treated, my life, my profession as a brand. And I never wanted to have a bad name or negative anything attached to myself because I kind of like carry myself as if I'm a corporation, right? And sometimes you're on pins and needles because of that.
Mhm.
But, if people have a idea of you and your work ethic, then it's going to pay off. A funny thing about that is that, they used to make fun of me at work. And they would say things like, um, if Tyrone Wilson won the lottery, he'd buy a network just so he can defend it. But
He'd
I
come to
felt
work
like
anyway.
I felt like they knew that I had a love for it and I was totally dedicated. And that positive impression that you have on people can carry you, when you start your business.
Oh, I could not agree more. It's so true. And also, like, do you find it hard to delegate? So I'm starting to bring on employees, and I find delegation so hard because I'm a control freak, and I want to be capable of doing 100% of every part of every person's job. But eventually, I have to realize I'm hiring someone that's smarter at sales, marketing, whatever it is, because I'm not awesome at that thing. I'm awesome at AppSec, and maybe I don't understand of marketing and what that means. Do you find it hard to let go?
I hate it. I hate it. And it's because I wanted every little thing, like every thought, every image, everything that had the Cover Six name on it, I wanted it to come out of my mouth because
Uh-huh.
it was my vision. I know what my response is going to be to all of the questions. Um, and one of the ways that I got out of that was, um, we ended up getting a booth a few times at some of the major conferences. Shout out to B-Sides Nova. And it wasn't easy at first, but I just
Mm-hmm.
took a step back and I let my team handle the booth.
And I'm
And it just kind of feels good, one, to know that people are willing, to battle for you, to speak for you, and they believe in your mission and in your goals, but you feel like you want everyone to be as hungry as you are. And when you don't see it,
mm.
you're like, I got to get rid of this person. Right?
Oh my gosh, yes. Oh my gosh. I
Yeah.
I just read this book on
Uh-huh.
leadership by Patrick Lencioni. I don't know if you've heard of him. And it's about finding awesome team players. And they're like, they have to be hungry, they have to be humble, and they have to be, what was the third one? And they have to be like have decent social skills so that they can be smart and deal with the rest of your team and not be a jerk face. And so I've been talking about that with some of my team, and so someone from my team, just when you were talking about delegation and like trying to be hands off, they commented,
Mhm.
"Oh my gosh, Tanya, become best friends forever with Tyrone." So I need to learn from you, Tyrone.
And
Oh,
what was I going to say?
I cut you off.
Oh, scratch it.
Sorry.
No,
Sorry.
it's fine. It's fine.
Okay,
Scratch it.
we have to take a 5-second break so that I can thank our amazing sponsor, Threadfix. So,
Okay.
first of all, everyone click the thumbs up if you're liking this, subscribe if you're not subscribed, and then if you live in the same city as Tyrone, immediately join his meetup, which I shared earlier. So, our
Virtual.
sponsor, Threadfix. Wait, where are you? Where's your meetup?
we're in Virginia, but I was going to say virtual. So one of the cool things that I do at all the meetups, unless you want to do the promo.
Oh, I should do the
No, one of the things I
promo.
do at the meetup
I'm
is
doing a
say,
bad job.
we're, I know how it is. So you
You,
need to
you,
do
you,
the
you,
promo. Let's go.
you, and then me.
No,
You.
okay. So one of the things, so we're virtual now. So we take anyone from anyone in the world. And one of the cool things that I do, I'm not going to get emotional again, I promise. One of the cool things that I
It's
do
cool.
is during the virtual meetup is that I ask people where they're tuning in from. And when you see different countries, and people like waking up in the middle of the night, just to attend your training or to attend your meetup, it touches me like every single time.
Right? It's
Yes.
so magical to be affecting people. Like, it's so, like, we have a really good community here in Victoria, BC, where I live, and they're ridiculously supportive. Oh my gosh, they're so awesome. But when we have a meetup and then people just attend from all over now, it's really exciting. Like we had a woman attend from southern United States at one of our meetups for our little Victoria chapter. And we're like, oh my gosh, hi. And she's like, you advertised that on the internet. So I thought it was cool. I'm like, yes! It was so
Yes.
awesome. And also her accent was so nice. Um, okay, but now for the
Go ahead.
sponsor. Now for the sponsor for real. Thank you so much to ThreadFix. They make the most stupendous vulnerability management system on this side of the entire galaxy. And they have been sponsoring us from the very beginning. And the founder, Dan Cornell, has been so kind to me, helping me, like giving me awesome advice for my startup and my previous startup, and just being ridiculously supportive. So thank you so much to ThreadFix. We couldn't do it without you, literally. And so, yes. So I have more questions now. I
Hey, let's
do.
let's go. I have nowhere to go tonight.
Yes. Oh, also, someone was asking what you
Uh-huh.
were drinking. So I am having some beautiful Chardonnay, and someone was asking what you were having because we thought we wanted to take the edge off just a tiny bit. So we're both having a very, very
Yeah.
tiny drink. Are you?
I'm drinking a nice Scotch whiskey monkey shoulder.
Oh,
Yeah.
I would say that sounds good, but I honestly think that whiskey. It's like
Yeah.
gasoline.
It's good though. Like normally you have to brace yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and with this you don't. Like it's really smooth. And I'm not normally a whiskey drinker at all.
So I appreciate, but I'm never going to have any of that. You can have mine if we're ever together. I'll be like, he pours two. I'm like, and you get to have two.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I have actually real questions now, not just
Okay.
questions from the chat.
Let's
Oh,
go.
and someone asked if there was a meetup in Ottawa, and his meetup's virtual, so you can attend from anywhere. And I'm just going to put it on the screen again. So it's Cover Six Solutions, and then is the meetup on that link?
So
Like,
the meetup is meetup.com
mm-hmm.
slash DC Cyber Warriors.
DC Cyber Warriors. Okay, so while you answer the next question, I'm going to look up DC
Sure.
Cyber Warriors, and then I'll
Let's go.
share it on the screen. But so I want to know. Um, okay, so this is a sensitive question, and I don't mean tell me exactly how much you make. But a lot of people that are looking to get into cybersecurity, they don't understand like this job pays super well, this job does not pay well, this job is awesome. And sometimes, I know this sounds silly, but so the way I knew I'd made it as a software developer and I was finally being paid really well was I had gone to the grocery store and I was like, oh, there's this new cheese and that new cheese. I freaking love cheese. And so I realized that I was rich enough that I could buy both types of cheese at the grocery store. And I was like, I'm rich. I bought two types of cheese. I know that sounds really silly, but I've denied myself a lot of times on food because I'm just like, we have budgets and stuff. So can you tell me in whatever way you want to, but not monetary, if you feel your job pays well?
Yes. Yes. I'll say it, yes. But it wasn't easy, right? It's
Yeah.
not an overnight thing. It's not like You
It
me. I had some friends that, you know, their first contract paid really, really well. And I'm what, year 7? I still don't have billets, right? Like we haven't gone the government contracting route yet. We
what
probably
do you
will.
sorry, what do you mean by billets?
So billets is like if you win, let's just say for instance you win a contract, say at the Pentagon, and you're willing to get with a prime that can subcontract 4 or 5 positions for you, and you know you're going to make a
Wow.
commission off of those 4 or 5 positions. And I've had some friends that got that pretty easily, pretty early in their entrepreneurial careers. I got out of that space, so that wasn't really my focus.
Yeah, same
But
here.
between
It's
but
painful.
between the training, yeah,
Working with
um,
government's
yeah,
painful.
yeah. I mean,
Like
that
not.
was my whole career.
Oh
Uh
yeah.
huh. And I
Me
just wanted
too.
to step away from it all. Yeah. But between the training, the consulting, like even on a good weekend of training, you can survive the month, right? On a good
Wow.
weekend, a month or two.
Amazing.
Um,
Someone in the
like,
chat is
mhm.
asking, so how is your pay now versus at your previous job that you quit? Is it like better or worse or kind of the same, or is it up and down? It's hard to say.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the terrifyingly motivating, right? Terrifyingly motivating. Guess what happens if I take 2 weeks off,
I know I'm going to
right?
do it at the end of December, and it's seriously terrifying.
Yeah, so it's not like the military where there's a pay scale and I knew how much I'm gonna make this year no matter what I do,
Yeah.
right? And I like the fact that it's essentially up to me. I like the fact that I have the flexibility to create products, but you still have to try to sell those products, do the marketing, and are you going to do it yourself or are you going to have a trainer? Um, what are you going to do for pricing, right? I hate that part
Oh my
as
gosh,
well. I always try
isn't
to.
isn't it the most difficult thing to decide how much your course costs?
So there's a couple things that go into it. Like there's me wanting to be nice and wanting to help everyone and wanting to create really affordable content. But then I see organizations that are essentially like, this is the price. Take it or
Mm-hmm.
leave it. There's no discount codes, no nothing. This is the price. You either want it or you don't. But I feel like we're in the middle of, a lot of people like free right now. A lot of people like self paced free right now. But I've always catered our training for you to be ready to work Monday
Yeah.
morning. When you leave Monday morning, you won't be uncomfortable in a sock, right? You won't be uncomfortable being an operator on a pen test team. Like
Awesome.
that's what I really make the training for. And because people like certs, we started incorporating a lot of the material from the certs, but I've never really taught to pass a cert. Like I want to teach you what it's like. I want to give you the real rap raw version of what it's like to be in a sock and some of the things that you're going to see, right? Like you're going to see some things that no human should see,
Yeah.
right? You're going to see some child trafficking stuff. You're going to see porn. You're going to see naked bodies. And
Oh
those
my
are some
gosh.
things that they may not talk to you about in class, you know?
But that's
All right.
real. That's real. I had
Yes.
to do anti-terrorism activities at one point, and I had to make a PowerPoint presentation of pictures of charred, burned Canadian bodies. And no one warned me about that. No one told me that was coming. I was harmed. And
Hmm.
there was another case, which obviously I can't talk about, that was top secret. And like, I was, just I was
Yeah.
massaging evidence, like making it so, yeah, and I had nightmares for months from just reading
Yeah.
small amounts of paragraphs of what had happened to a person. And like, if they aren't going to tell you the truth in training about what you're in for, P.S. there's none of that in AppSec, which is part of why I work in AppSec
Uh-huh.
now. Like, I think that I salute the strong humans that can do that, because I'm not strong enough to do that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what to say.
What about yeah? What about the dirt bags that you know are dirt bags, but they're under investigation, so you still have to work with them for the next week or two? You know, like ah, all right.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, or
Uh,
yeah, I had once like a colleague, and they had caught someone doing something quite bad, and the help desk person had ruined the chain of custody. And so they
uh,
couldn't press charges against a person that had done a very, 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 very bad thing. And it was just
yeah,
like the help desk person's heart like crushing, and they had tried to like handle, it's like, don't touch anything. Let the professionals come.
yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I have more questions for you. So, but
Let's
someone
go.
someone
Huh,
actually, so someone said time for rainbows. So someone had a question, and they
I
said,
know.
someone actually had a question that was for me, and it was, I'm attending a college in Ottawa, where I'm from, and they're wondering how they could get into application security. And I, like Ty and I were, so I wrote a book, and this book will
Huh?
teach you basically most of how to do AppSec. That's why I wrote
Yeah.
it. And I'm trying to give it to universities, like give it, I mean, like, it is like the cheapest textbook probably for computer science.
Uh-huh.
But also, like Ty was saying, join a meetup and meet people. So OWASP, the Open Web Application Security Project, specifically for AppSec, or if you want to learn how to work in a SOC, join the DC Warriors. Sorry, I put it on the screen and then I lost it. The DC Cyber Warriors.
DC Cyber War.
Yeah, so
Hmm.
look up meetup.com and then slash DC Cyber Warriors. Or look in meetup.com for OWASP. We have over 300 chapters around the world, and that will help. You'll meet the right type of people. And then I'm going to be super biased. Join the We Hack Purple community. That's what we
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And we have
Do it. Like yeah.
courses, and
A
our
community is
courses
important.
don't cover the same things as Ty, which is part of why I invited him on here. Because I no, but people will ask me like, I want to work in a SOC. What should I take your course? I'm like, no, you need to meet Tyrone, right? Like it's just right.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
We work in the same field, but we can still recommend each other. And so
Yeah.
I hope that
For
I've
sure.
answered the question for you, Jeff. But now I want to talk about Tyrone. So, would you say there's lots of opportunities in the field that you work in? Would you say like there's lots of possibility and lots of opportunities?
That's a tough one.
Right?
I would say it depends on where you're looking and who's hiring. Um, because there are situations where an organization um, it may not be overt, but they are looking for a certain look and feel
Oh,
for their
interesting.
organization.
Interesting.
So, so you know, the opportunity may not be there for that organization. I feel like the opportunities are there provided you have talent.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
What do you
and
What do you do if you
yeah,
don't fit the look and feel? Like I did an interview in 2016 for a full-time pen tester job. And I'd been doing all these things, and I kid you not, Tyrone, in 2016 they asked if I had children or if I was pregnant or planning a family. And I was like, no, I'm allergic to kids. I didn't know what to say. Like, what are you supposed to say? And so
yeah,
then, wait for it, 6 weeks later, I had another interview with the same organization. So I did an entire pen test engagement for
uh-huh,
free. I wrote a report, and then I actually mitigated 100% of the problems to show them, like, I know what
Uh-huh.
I'm doing. Hire me. And
Right.
so 6 weeks later, I have another interview with this dude, and there's a different dude with him in the interview. And he's like, okay, so I need to repeat these questions. Are you pregnant? Do you have children, or are you planning on having children in the
Oh
future?
man.
And I looked at him, and and the other guy looked and went, like,
Yeah.
it was like out of a movie, the dude's face. And I
Uh-huh.
said, the past 6 weeks just haven't been that fun. I don't know what to tell you. Like,
Uh-huh.
what can you even say?
Yeah.
And then I got the job, and that was in the Canadian
Uh,
government. And then I reported him
wow.
once I was a full-time employee, because fuck that shit.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, sorry.
I was just gonna
Beep,
say,
beep,
I was just gonna
beep,
say
beep.
when you asked the question, can I curse? Because
Yeah, curse,
you asked,
curse. Let's
you
edit.
said, what would you do if you didn't
Mm-hmm.
fit the description?
Mm-hmm.
I'd say, do you know who I am?
Yeah.
No.
Right?
Um, no, honestly, I would say, work until they do know who you are.
Yes.
Make it undeniable that you have that technical expertise. Like, even if it's got to be, people always talk about blogs and speaking engagements. Like, you don't have to do all that stuff, but it's going to help. And, I always joke,
Mm-hmm.
this is me revealing all this stuff. I always joke that one day my resume is just going to have one thing on it, and it's going to say Tyrone E. Wilson, right? And that's going to be my resume. And I just maybe come in there with just the pipe and just say cybersecurity and just walk out.
Wait, and then you just drop the mic, and you're just
Right.
like,
Good.
someone was asking me, they're like, when you apply for a job, Tanya, what do you do? And I'm like, I don't know what to say to you, because like Microsoft courted me. And then the previous startup I worked at courted me for like a year. And then I'm like, I don't know what to say. And they're like, but what do you have on your resume? I'm like, Tanya F. and Jenka? Like, I don't know what like,
Yeah. I,
Google me, yo. Like, what do you, but for the average person, like, if they're facing, so like, I am a woman in tech, and I have been told things like, your skirts aren't short enough. And, like, just, yeah, I had a boss ask me once if I was wearing panties. And then I screamed in his face to the point where he was apparently physically
oh,
scared I was going to hurt him, which is good. So I communicated how I felt. And I actually like
wow.
walked into him, because you know how people have fight or flight? Even when I shouldn't, mine is fight.
Uh-huh.
Like, even when it's a very bad idea. And so I like literally walked
Uh-huh.
into him and was like, get out of my cubicle. And he's like, what? I'm like, and I was like, pushed him back and was like, get out. And then I just screamed, no. And he like looked at me, and I was like, do I have to push him? Because I'm gonna. But like, what
Yeah.
do you,
Well,
but
uh-huh.
what do we do if we're like looking for a job and we're facing this? Like,
Okay.
are there any tricks or things that have helped you?
Yeah. So, a couple things, and then I'll tell you a story, like a follow-up story of
Okay.
what was said to me at work one day. And I tweeted about this, and like, you have to believe it first, right? Because it's gonna change you at a subconscious level. And I've actually went to a subconscious reprogramming where I had to subconsciously believe that I was successful. If
Yeah.
you don't believe it, no one else is going to believe it. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to believe it first, and it's just going to change your vibe. It's going to change your body language. It's going to change the way you charge for rates and what you ask for in a salary and your conversation. Like, you have to believe it first, and I know it's not that easy. It comes with knowledge and experience and, you know confidence in yourself. But like, even from the beginning, don't try to compare yourself to like the greats in the industry with 30, 40 years in the game. Focus on who you are. And I love helping people figure out who the F they really are.
I'm
Right?
saying yes like 100 times and
Yes.
just pointing at Ty. For the people that can't
Yes.
hear, I mute
Like,
myself because I just say yes a lot and point and like make
uh-huh,
this yes. Oh my gosh, yes,
uh-huh.
Ty.
One of these days, you are going to figure out who the F you are, and it's going to be glorious. And just ride that wave, right? Ride that wave. Stay humble with it, but ride that wave and have it carry on so you can maintain a certain level of success. Figure out, like I said before, what are you good at? What are you willing to compete with another person for? And let that be your focus. Um, you know, don't let these um, engineering positions get to you and make you feel like you're unqualified for them. And I think I tweeted about that. It was a very popular tweet of mine where I said, you don't have to meet all of the preferred qualifications.
Yes.
You don't. And don't give them a reason to discredit you. Like a lot of people start with the negative attributes about themselves and they don't even have to. Like no one asked you that, right? Only answer the
Yes.
questions that they ask, right?
This is so true.
Whew.
I also feel like there's strength in numbers. Like part of why I started WOSEC, the Women of Security International nonprofit, is honestly, Ty, because I just wanted to ask other women the truth. Like, so I had a job at a place that I will not name, where I was being paid 2/3 of everyone else on my team. And it was not that long ago. And I I wanted to ask all the other women like that I was like at WOSEC, just like, oh, you're on mute. You're on mute. I can't hear you. Just so you know.
That's probably good because
Yeah.
I was just
Yeah.
chuckling it away,
But
chuckle it up.
I was asking them, I was like, I can't believe this. I'm like, what should I do? And they're like, you go in and you tell your boss that this needs to be rectified immediately. And then if he doesn't rectify it, like tear him new a-holes. And I was like, oh my. And so they gave me the confidence to go and ask for the same pay as everyone else on my team. And I did end up resigning over it. After a year of fighting for equal pay for equal work and equal title, I was just like, I'm leaving. You lose me. That's it. I'm out of here. And like, what can you do, right? But they're like, the fact that you stood up,
Mhm.
that inspires the rest of us to stand up. And that they inspired me. And so I feel like forming communities of like underrepresented people can really help us like lift each other up.
Yeah, and people being honest, and I know I joke about this sometimes, and I probably shouldn't bring it up, but okay. First thing, I'm sorry you had to go through that, but we have those conversations as well amongst you
Oh
know
yeah,
people of color,
of
and
course.
sometimes I have to go to my friends and say, hey, like, what are the white people rates for
Right?
this
Right?
position? Right? Like,
Uh-huh.
what are you asking for? Like, just be real with me. Like, what's a good number, right? And
Yes.
I've had people, and I've been on the other end of these the hiring, and and I've had white guys just straight up tell me, this is what I'm looking for. So if it's not this, just let me know now, and I don't want to waste anyone's time.
Oh my God, the
And I'm like,
confidence.
yeah, I'm like, I really don't know, you know.
Have you ever
But it was just like
seen
straight up like on the phone.
Have you ever seen those women say, God grant me the confidence of a mediocre white male on the internet?
Yeah,
Because yeah, like
yeah,
I have had people say like, "Oh yeah, he's like I won't come here for 200." And I'm just like, "Oh my God." I just can't
yeah,
imagine that. And I'm like, "Who can teach me these skills so I
yeah,
Oh, I totally have an
yeah.
inappropriate story that a bunch of women told me to do. They're like, maybe if you had male parts, they would pay you appropriately. And I was like, oh my gosh. That's a very extreme solution you're discussing. but someone is saying, do the other 9 people watching want to see 10 to 15 more minutes? Please don't stop now. You said you have some time. Is it okay if we talk a couple more minutes, even though it's 7?
Let's go. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so this is kind of the most important question is like, what advice do you have? Like to every type of person, or even like, because like part of the thing about this podcast, I don't know if you've noticed the guest list, but it's very diverse because I truly feel representation matters. And when I don't see a single woman on stage at a conference, I feel like I don't belong there, right? And so I wanted to give a stage to every type of person, like neuroatypical people, like every gender, etc. And so like what can we do? So like first of all, for you and I, we can share our power, right? Like me having every type of person on the podcast, that's me sharing my power. And you having your 8,000 person strong meetup, that is you sharing your power, right? Like what else can we do?
I would say, like, I think it's really simple. Just be a good person, right? Just,
Yes.
it's not difficult. Just be a good person. And, you mentioned the platform, and I realized that, and I say this a lot, with power comes great responsibility. And I realized that, I was able to build something to where if I'm speaking, if people out there are making life altering decisions based off of what I say, and that's something that I take very seriously. And I feel like as long as you're doing right by the people and you're not just being an a-hole on purpose, and some people don't know that they're being that way because it's just the way that they were brought up, or they need to fit in with the crowd or whatever. But just be a good person.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. I wish that every person in all of IT would take your advice. Like, just be a good person. Treat others
Yeah.
how you wish you could be treated. Yeah. I went through all of my employees' pay, like this is like 5+ years ago. And I figured out that it was a man that was white that was very, 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 very short. Like unusually so. And he was being paid less than his own employees. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I immediately brought it to upper management. I'm like, not acceptable. And they're like, well, he didn't ask for, I'm not acceptable. And I was like, look, I've rejigged the budget so we can give him a $100 per week raise above his own employees. And you know what we're going to tell him? It's because we recognize the amazing contributions he does. Because this dude is actually awesome. He's amazing. Like, he's that, first of all, his team adores him and loves him. His work is spot on. Like, the guy's incredible. And they're like, well, he never asked for a raise. And I was like, I'm going to review the rest of the employees now for inequities. Thank you. Bye. I was just like, I think that, thank you for being so earnest and honest and open because, no, but like, I feel like sometimes people will be like, diversity matters. And then you see their board and it's like 100 white dudes. And they're all really, really old too. And I'm like, diversity doesn't actually matter. It's a phrase that you've heard people like. And so I want to thank you. What?
Yeah, I feel like if you need a diversity plan, then that's already telling you what you need to know about your company. It should just be automatic. You shouldn't even have to think about it.
No, like if you're not attracting a diverse set of people applying, then maybe you need to like reevaluate the way you're trying to attract people to work for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And like your best resource to know how you're doing is to talk to your employees and ask them if they feel comfortable. Ask them if there's any problems. I'm always like, please come to me. Please come to me if
Yeah.
there's an issue, because I
Yeah.
cannot have you being unhappy working here. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, if you're unhappy because our sales are down or something, I can help with that, but do you know what I mean? But I'm like, I never want you to feel harassed, abused,
Yeah.
like, and that includes if the people that answer my social media. So I have some of them that like reply to tweets and things like that. I'm like, no one talks down to you ever. If someone's mean to me,
Yeah.
mean to you, you tell me and I will take over. So that's not acceptable. You will
Yeah.
not be abused at work.
Yeah.
But not every boss acts like that.
Yeah.
I want to thank you so much for coming on the show, and I have 2 more questions if you don't mind.
Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay,
You
thank
can
you.
have 3 more questions or 5 more questions.
Well,
Let's go.
these are the super important ones. So if
Okay.
you were gonna give someone actionable advice, so like a first, like a step, or advice generally, like if someone's like, I want to lead a company someday, what
Hmm.
advice would you give that person? Like what would you say as like an actionable thing they could do?
Okay. Actionable. I would say find a task and project management platform. I use Asana, and actually put in your goals. Even if you need a 10-year plan, put in the tasks, put in the goals, put in the milestones, put in the dates, and just start working towards that. Like block out the rest of the world, because it's going to make you feel like you're not moving fast enough. Because people out there, they're going to share their triumphs and their accomplishments. And if you're not moving at the same pace, it's going to feel like you aren't accomplishing much, but you are. Like the first part of being successful is actually having a plan and working towards that plan. So it's like eating an elephant. Like, how do you eat an elephant? Like one
One
bite at a
piece.
time.
Yep.
Yeah. And you may think that it's impossible. And I listened to a motivational speaker, Eric Thomas. And he says small steps, great distances. So as long as you keep taking the steps, you will get there. Right? You will get there.
That is such fantastic
Actionable.
advice. Yes, I actually literally took that advice 4 weeks ago. So my company got a project management thing, and it has totally changed the way I'm doing stuff.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
previously, the company was just me, and then there was another person, and another, and we're kind of asynchronous. But now there's 6 of us, and we can't function unless we know what each other are working on, what we're doing. It just doesn't work. Yeah. How many people work at your company? How many people? Including contractors and
Regularly.
part-time.
What are we up? So we actually just brought on like 4 interns.
Wow, that's so awesome. You're giving people such an opportunity to learn. Good job.
I'd say we're at 5, like 9 or 10.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
So
That's incredible. You know
there's
the
a
10th employee's heart just broke. They're like, Tyrone doesn't remember me. I'm just teasing you. I'm just teasing you.
get to work. Get to work. I'll remember you.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Do some
Okay. I have one last question. And if someone wants to know more about you, because honestly, I can't imagine someone listening or watching this and not wanting to know basically everything about you, where can they find you? Do you have a website? So I've shared your LinkedIn. I'm going to share your Twitter right now. And then I'm going to share your website. Where else so he's Ty Wilson 21 on Twitter. So at
Twitter.
Ty Wilson 21, and look up Tyrone E Wilson on LinkedIn.
That's
And
right, Tyrone.
his website is cover6 the number 6 solutions.com. But where else there's a blog? Where else? Tell me.
I think if anyone wanted to know everything, I would say it was my first keynote at Hacker Halted last year. I left everything on the stage there. And, I was told to be motivating, inspiring, and challenging. And I feel like I did that. And my brother's a motivational speaker, and me and him, we set up and we created some talking points and everything. And he was like, this, do that, do this. And I'm reading it over, and I'm like, it's not me, right? Like, that's not me. So I said, I'm just going to go and tell my story. And I feel like my story is motivating, inspiring, challenging. And that's what I did. I left it all out there on stage. There were some emotional moments, but I feel like I was able to relate. There's something in my story that allowed me to relate to everyone in the audience. And got got a standing ovation. Doesn't
Oh my
show in the
gosh.
video, but people were waiting in line. I never experienced that, but people were waiting in line to hug me. And grown men were crying. People were crying in the
Wow.
crowd, and I felt like that was my moment because you can't tell, but when you're on stage, you can see your slides.
Yeah.
So at the beginning, there's a slide that says, you know, who is Tyrone E. Wilson? And by design, it's limited. And I spent the presentation like breaking myself down, telling my story, and then slowly but surely bringing myself up. And then towards the end of the presentation, and again, you can't see it in the video, the slide comes up again. And the slide says, who is Tyrone E. Wilson? And I look at it, and like never in my life have I felt so confident
Hmm.
in who I was.
Oh my
And then
gosh.
all of it hit me because the bullet points started coming up. And it's like Tyrone Wilson is the founder and president of Cover Six Solutions. Tyrone Wilson is the organizer of the largest cybersecurity meetup group in the country. Like
Wow.
Tyrone Wilson. Um, there was a couple other things, but um, I don't want to tell it because there are some
Yeah.
cool things in there about family and everything. But towards the end, it said, and now Tyrone Wilson, the last bullet says keynote speaker. And
Oh,
I cursed. You can't see it, but I said, and I just did my first mother keynote. And I dropped the mic and I walked off stage.
oh my gosh, that's amazing. Oh my gosh, that's so
Yeah,
amazing. Okay,
yeah.
so that is going to be in the speaker note or in the show notes. So if you go to wehackpurple.com and then episode 12, which is Tyrone E. Wilson, beep, keynote speaker. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So obviously Tanya has to
Yeah.
watch that immediately. Oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you so much for being on our show. This has been
No problem.
absolutely
Anytime.
incredible. Oh my gosh, the chance to get
Yeah.
to know you better.
Anytime.
So, like, I'm just like, maybe if I invite people I think are amazing on the show, they'll actually say yes. So thank you for saying yes. Because, yeah, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much. I can't believe I have to wrap up the show. This is actually difficult. Um,
Yeah, I like, yeah, anytime.
okay,
We can have a
thank
part
you.
two.
Yeah, seriously, actually, I like this. I like this
Yeah.
idea, actually. Okay, hold that thought, and I'm gonna do the goodbyes. Thank you so much to Tyrone Wilson for being our amazing guest today. Tyrone E. Wilson, if you're going to look him up on the internet. And if you check the show notes, you will find a link to this amazing keynote that he did at Cyber Halted. And on top of that, Hacker Halted. Yes. This podcast was sponsored by ThreadFix, powered by Denim Group, and they make an amazing vulnerability management tool. And this has been the We Hack Purple podcast. We have amazing people on every week, and I thank you so much for coming. Thank you again, and see you next week.